so much propaganda, especially on big corporate news, that unions are actually the ones responsible for bringing down like things like the economy and stuff. How would you respond to those people who are making those statements?
Well, if you go back in history in the 40s, in the 30s and 40s, when union membership was high, 65, 70%, our country was strong because people were making a decent wage. People could go out and spend their money. People can work and have a decent living. They can feed their families. They would go out and buy nice cars. Today, a person that's not a union and has to work 2 or 3 jobs, to just make a living, and they're keeping the American dream from being recognized by certain people. And you know what? The unions try to fight for, the common man, the working man. We want everybody to make it. We want everybody to make a fair wage. We're not against the non-union worker. Everybody has to make a living. Everybody has to feed their family. What we're against is the corporations and the companies that want to give their people a low rate of pay where they can't even afford to live, that they have to work 80 hours a week just to survive. That, companies like McDonald's and Walmart, where the people that only work at Walmart on a single shift, they actually have to have supplemental income from the government. So now that's destroying the whole thing. Our government is, now I have to support them through my taxes because John Walton, who it was estimated worth last year $36 billion in Arkansas, he's living high on the hog.
Yeah.
The guys that are working for him,
not so much.
They're working, and yet they still have to go and get SSI. They got to get assistance. They got to get food stamps because they can't afford to live on the salary that they're paying them. And to me, that's not fair. This city here is where the Declaration of Independence was signed.
Right.
This is where it all started.
The city of brotherly love.
Right. And like I said, that was the first union, the guys that came together and said, because listen, if George Washington or Thomas Jefferson would have went to England and said, yo, listen, I got a problem, they would have said, you know what, off with your head. Yeah. And that would have been the end of it. But when they all came together, all the colonies came together, and the guys came together, and they went to England, and they sent Ben Franklin over there or whoever, and they said, listen, we're not going to take it. We're not going to put up with it. We're going to have a revolution. And that's how the Declaration of Independence came about, and then the Bill of Rights, and then everything that we have today. And, that's why, I'm free to dress as a leprechaun. Freedom of speech. Those guys are free down here to gather in mass, because that's one of our rights. If we didn't have that group of 64, 65 unionized guys, I want to call them a union, the first union to sign that Declaration of Independence, we wouldn't have been anywhere today. We would have been just like any other country that doesn't have any freedoms. You look at the countries over in the Middle East, where you're not allowed to speak your mind, you're not allowed to watch television, everything's controlled by the media. I mean, some of it's controlled here too, but I mean, radically, it's just, that's what our unions are for. To try to keep the common working man, have his head above water and survive with a decent, listen, you work 25, 30, 40 years, you want to retire, you busted your ass, you raised your family, you put into society, you paid your taxes, and you supported these guys that work at Walmart and McDonald's. You deserve, after 35, 40 years of working your ass off, to retire with dignity. You shouldn't have to work till you're 90, digging ditches in a hole and, in a field because you have no retirement. And that's what the unions try to do.
Now, are you a native of Philly?
Yeah, born and raised South Philadelphia.
Born and raised Philadelphia, yeah.
South Philadelphia.
How has, being raised in the environment of Philly, being around the history of the founding fathers, how has this impacted your views on working with unions?
Well, I've been in a union since I was 18, and when I was a kid, I probably went there to visit the Liberty Bell, but until I joined the union and I realized the struggle, and I did research on the miners, the Irish that came over here in the beginning, and they were kept down, but they were paid slave wages to work in the mines for the coal that heated the houses. You had to buy from the company store. You couldn't go and buy a drill bit from somebody outside of the company store. So you lived in a house owned by the company. So you basically toiled and your family lived in it, so you got black lung and everything. The miners, you know, they suffered a long time. And, you know, when they started their unions, I mean, you know, a lot of people says, like, you know, you hear the term redneck. You know, redneck, what happened was the miners from Pennsylvania went down to support the miners in Virginia, you know, because they were striking down there. And they said, well, how are we going to recognize who's who? We don't know the guys down there. They'll say, well, we're going to wear a red bandana around our necks. And that's where the term redneck came from.
Ah, okay.
You know, it's a lot of people think it's, oh, redneck, you know, but the term redneck came from an actual act of solidarity with Pennsylvania miners and West Virginia miners.
Ah, okay.
And that's where the term came from.
All right, well,
Do you have any questions, Anthony?
well, my friend,
Alrighty?
Thank you.
so much.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Yeah.
And enjoy your stay in
And
Philadelphia.
Good luck to you.
That's
All right.
why we would do
Thank
what we
you.
do, to meet people like yourself.
Thank you. Anytime.
Yeah.
Listen, Philadelphia, man, is the city that loves you back. I guess that's what they say, right?
Oh, well, we're feeling the love back, aren't we?
Good.
We're feeling
right.
that
And you know,
love.
like I said, there's the middle class. The middle class is starting to fade away.
Right.
There's going to be a what do they call it? A class warfare.
Right.
There's going to be. There's going to be rich and there's going to be poor. And the funny thing is like I said, the people in the upper middle class, they think that they're upper class.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. When the upper class turned their backs on the upper middle class,
It's over.
they ain't gonna have nowhere to go.
Yep.
You know? So we'll see what happens. I hope it doesn't come to that, and I hope we can get our message across, but we'll see.
They're going to be
All right, good luck.
outclassed.
Only time will
Good
tell.
luck.